Hey, Miguel Arati back here on the CRP, and I'm joined by Anthony Scott Pyatt, and you know what that means? That means we're here to talk boxing and boxing odds. That's this Saturday, right around the corner here. We've got October 5th at Madison Square Garden. DAZN getting together to give us Gennady Golovkin versus Sergiy Derevyanchenko. Not exactly the optimum opponent we would like to see Golovkin in there with, but, it's a fight heavy on, Eastern European fighters here on the card and stuff with Golovkin at the top. Not a lot of interesting odds here, but ASP is going to take us through the cards here with the details. How you doing, ASP?
Hey, I'm doing great, and I'll throw out there's some fairly interesting fights regardless of the odds being fairly skewed. There's some guys that are making their debuts, and there's some guys that have only fought 2 or 3 times. So there's some stuff to look at on this card. Doing great, Miguel. Want to shout out to Devin for doing a great show. We kind of just had a fun little – I'm at West Baden Springs Hotel in French Lick, Indiana, part of the French Lick Resorts and French Lick Casino. We talked about sports betting, so check that one out, folks. This is, of course, Wage Rage, but that one was sort of a broader, just quick, simple look at not just this hotel, but, sports betting is coming to most states. If it's not yours yet, it's coming, or it's one right next to you. So this kind of gave you a look at how you can go to a resort and have a hell of a time and place some bets off of what we tell you here on Wage Rage. Happy to be with you, Miguel.
Yeah. The bottom line is, a lot of fans of sports betting and stuff been waiting around for a long time, offshore sports books, this, that, and the other stuff. It's here. It's finally here. The times are beginning to change, so that's one good sign. But let's go ahead and get right into the nitty-gritty here. And we've got the pair of middleweight belts at 160 pounds. Golovkin minus 465 favorite as he faces Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko plus 370. I'll let you take it away.
Well, this is an interesting one. I'm kind of surprised the odds are only plus 370 for Derevyanchenko. His only loss is to Danny Jacobs, and that was a split decision. Danny Jacobs only has 2 losses. That's to Sal Canelo Alvarez and Triple G himself. So it's kind of a he beat this guy, he beat that guy story. Having said that, I do think Golovkin is the superior fighter here. Golovkin's probably stronger than Danny Jacobs. He might knock Derevyanchenko out. He might have trouble with some of the speed and footwork that Derevyanchenko brings. Derevyanchenko can kind of do this this kind of a nice straight punches, a little bit of footwork. I don't know that it's going to save the day for him. By the way, he touched his glove to the canvas against Danny Jacobs in a round that he may have been winning, and so it was a 2-point swing, and he still only lost by split decision. So he may have beat Danny Jacobs if not for touching his glove and getting knocked down. That's the difference. It was a knockdown. His glove touched the canvas. But for your casual boxing fans, he was not knocked down. He wasn't on his butt. He stopped himself from falling by putting the glove down. And so that was a 2-point swing, and he still got at least, one of the judges still picked Derevyanchenko against Danny Jacobs. So I'm kind of making excuses for why Derevyanchenko is still only a plus 370. I wouldn't take him at that number. I need to see some higher numbers to bet on him. So Golovkin by decision is how I see this one happening.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the bottom line is Derevyanchenko's got, some charm of his own, so to speak, But I think, he's a few years younger than Golovkin. That may be his number one advantage. And besides that, they came up to the same relatively similar amateur systems, with a lot of fights and stuff. Derevyanchenko is the guy who comes out, with the nickname the Technician, and he actually wants to, test Golovkin's boxing acumen here. And I'm not sure that's the right way to go with Golovkin. The bottom line is Golovkin's been, in the stratosphere for so long, and, his amateur career also backs that up and stuff. And I think, judging by the fact that they come from the same place, that similar amateur background from Eastern Europe, I think Golovkin was the more elite fighter all the way through. And I think, level carries the day at the end of the day here. Derevyanchenko has a mountain to climb. However, there's a sadness about Golovkin nowadays in interviews. Even when he's smiling, his eyes are not, emoting happiness anymore. And I think there is a sadness over, how much time is going by here between, another Canelo fight, and that this isn't the Canelo fight that he wants and stuff like that. And he is coming in at 37 years old now. So, for Canelo now, he's going to be looking at 38 and stuff. And, you have to look back at the course of the last couple of years, and things are just not going his way. The rematch hasn't materialized. Canelo doesn't really seem to want to do it right away either. And, he's taking home good money with the zone, but the zone also sort of, put some eggs in that Golovkin-Canelo 3 basket as well. So, there's a failure to deliver on that fight. It's probably on Canelo's end as far as fault. But, like I said, that baggage around Golovkin, he's fought so many times and he's had such a high level, and he doesn't really falter, like even bouncing back from his losses, he's come back with good performances, and you always think, hey, maybe you can catch him and stuff. And no. And he resists mental pressure very good. That's one of the things that makes him a star, right? So, I just think Golovkin is going to be a notch above unless it is that day that Father Time calls.
Yeah, no, and I was going to mention, too, you're right, though. He may be having a mental fade at this point. He's kind of got himself to the top of the game and then sort of stalled out. And not all by his own fault. I mean, if you look at those fights, how close they were, I think he won the one. I didn't always agree with the judges, let's put it that way. But he's having to fight his way back to get into the same struggle that he's already been through a couple times. I did want to put out that Derevyanchenko has good footwork, and he may be able to pivot to his left and then bring his right hook up to catch Golovkin. The problem is that as he pivots to the left, Golovkin still is strong enough to throw a right hook of his own. And then you've got, just like a home run ball, you've got a fast pitch and a good swinger. Look out. I think we might see some contact by Golovkin at that point. His footwork might not be as good, but he can reach out with his right arm and still tag Derevyanchenko. So it's hard to say. If Derevyanchenko wins, then next week we're talking about, has Golovkin lost the fire? Has he lost the will to fight? Is he old mentally? So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's happening yet. I think he's disciplined enough to get through this fight. Triple G.
Yeah, so let me ask you, because there's obviously variations in the sport books and stuff. But if you catch Derevyanchenko at plus 450?
You're close. I was thinking plus 500 is where I start thinking about him because I'm not sure about Golovkin's fire. And
that's good insight. And that's good insight. And you may find that because I do believe that, Golovkin is the big name here. And at some point, somebody will trickle in, one way or another. So we'll see how that one goes. Now, they are at Madison Square Garden. It's a mishmash of promoters on this fight. You got Eddie Hearn there and Lou DiBella. And obviously with GGG involved, you got Tom Loeffler there. One of the fights that is unusual getting love from the sport books is a light heavyweight affair between Joseph Ward and Marco Delgado. Delgado 5-1. Ward making his debut. This is a 6-round bout, but Ward comes with a little bit of amateur pedigree. He's also from Ireland, which, in the last 5 to 10 years, the Irish have really checked in as, fight fans supporting their guys on an international level across, MMA, boxing, and things like that. So he's the next in line for Irish support, so to speak, here as he makes his debut. The whole country knows him in terms of his amateur background, has seen him, fight at the amateur level, bringing home titles and things like that and getting his pedigree together. And that's why he's not debuting in a 4-round fight. He's debuting in a 6-round fight. He's got, a little more than just a debutante.
Yeah, and, let's take a look at this. It's his debut. So I had to go back a little bit, as we often do, to check out what they did in the amateurs. Yeah, he's got 42 fights in the amateurs, but he lost 9 of them, and he didn't knock anybody out, 33-9. In the World Series of Boxing, he's 12-3, and he did get knocked out on one of those, and he only knocked out 2 people out of those 15 fights. So without the knockout power in either amateurs or World Series of Boxing, I'm not sure what Delgado, who's only lost to Mike Guy. Now, Mike Guy was 9-4-1 when he beat Delgado, and Delgado's only 5-1, but he's got 4 knockouts. My point being, maybe Delgado's got a puncher's chance in this thing. Ward's a southpaw, but he keeps his right down. I've seen him fight on some of his amateur fights and in the World Series of Boxing. He keeps that right hand, down at his knee level, Miguel. So if Delgado takes advantage of that, I expect an ugly fight that Delgado can win by knockout or by knocking down Ward and getting some points for that knockout. So if I had to pick, officially it's Ward by decision, but I like this plus 1,500 as a dog watch for Delgado at plus 1,500.
That means $100 brings you back $1,500 on a bet, and that might be appealing if some of the numbers add up. And being Irish doesn't automatically mean you can fight, and there is the possibility that some of their guys may be pushed onto a higher stage than they're ready for,
right?
And especially at light heavyweight, where the competition's at regional levels tends to be lesser and stuff like that. That plus 1,500 does look a little bit more appealing after that analysis. Although I think Joseph Ward, an Irishman fighting in New York City, obviously part of Eddie Hearn's stable, bringing him along here. I don't think they're going to make a mistake with a ticket seller the first time out. That's one of the things to consider there. You know what I mean? So we'll see. It's actually more of a test of their matchmaking than anything else. Moving down the card here, we've got some super middleweight action. We're going to get to the 10 rounders here, and I'm looking at Andrew Hernandez and Ali Akhmedov. Akhmedov, obviously the Eastern European. He's a minus 5250 favorite. So more along the lines of the Ward Delgado fight, where there's a showcase here for one guy, Hernandez plus 1750 on the comeback. I don't see any way to put money on Akhmedov, but if you're a gambling man, Hernandez pays back. Should he get lucky? Is he going to get lucky?
I don't see it happening. Look, we almost skipped this one, but I thought it was interesting. Hernandez, look, only won 2 of his last 6 fights. Now, that includes 2 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. So they all 4 weren't losses, but he's just not fighting at any level that makes you think at 20-7, been knocked out 3 times, 2 draws. He's only knocked 9 people out of these 32 fights that he's had. Even at the plus 1750, I did not actually call this one a dog watch. Akhmedov, I think, has this one pretty solidly. Whether it's a knockout or not, this is what I'm saying. I'm going to call Ali by knockout. And we'll see how that goes. But I don't see Hernandez winning this thing. If he does, it will shock me, and you'll be sad you didn't make $1,750 for your $100 bet. But we got to try and call the ones we think are most likely, and we're going to leave this one alone.
Yeah, Akhmedov, he's got that mystique of Eastern European, 15-0, amateur background out of Kazakhstan. He's 24 years old, so he's, got a future ahead of him. They've been bringing him along fast, and if you look at his career and his record, his last time out, he beat an undefeated fighter. The guys that he's beaten, and he's undefeated, 9-1, 9-2, 9-0, 18-2, 10-0, 10-2. Very few fighters that are padding on his record. And, with that in mind, Hernandez is actually most likely should be considered a step down, and he's here defending the
that's right
international belt. So, this could be even a situation where Hernandez maybe, was given a mandatory, shot at the belt or whatever, and Akhmedov will take the mandatory instead of, and then maybe for his next fight we'll see him actually take on a little bit more fierce competition there.
Yeah, this one might be a slaughter.
And we got a similar setup for Gabriel Bracero versus Ivan Baranchyk. Baranchyk a minus 5250 favorite. Bracero plus 1750. This is 10 rounds of action at the super lightweight division, 140 pounders. And how do you see this one? Is this a carbon copy of Akhmedov Hernandez, or Does Bracero bring a little more to the table? What's your view on this?
Yeah, I see him as bringing a little bit of more to it. Where Hernandez has just lost to a lot of folks without a name or a pedigree or even great records. Gabriel Bracero has lost to Felix Diaz and Paulie Malignaggi, the guy that you pal around with sometimes. 37, but he was beaten by those two guys. They were decent. The third guy he was beaten by was a 37-19-1, a guy named Corley. So, and that was for a title. So
the Marcus Corley
wasn't great, but it was for a title at least, So you kind of go back and forth on that. He's not lost just to basically no one's, as Andrew Hernandez has a longer list of guys you've never heard of. Let's put it that way. Ivan lost his last fight. Now that can mean one of two things. How do you bounce back from your first loss? 19-1, 12 knockouts for Ivan Baranchyk. He lost to Josh Taylor for the IBF title. Now, Taylor has that type of power where Taylor's 14-0 with 12 knockouts. Bracero doesn't have that type of power. He's only knocked 6 people out in 29 fights. So you're not going to knock Ivan out in this, which means it's going to be harder to beat him down and knock him down once or twice and get the decision. So Baranchyk by decision is my official call, but I like the idea that do you come back from a loss and avenge it with a win, or did the loss mentally hurt Baranchyk? And since this is his first loss ever, we don't really know the answer to that question. Maybe psychologically why did I lose last time? What did I do different? I'm going to change some things. Maybe he overtrained even. That happens sometimes. So it's a possibility here. So Bracero on the dog watch at plus 1750. Again, folks, you put 100 in, they give you 1750 profit, so you get 1850 back in your pocket if Bracero can pull this off. So I think this one is more of a test of Baranchyk. It's not about Bracero. He's going to bring the same steady game that he brings. But if Ivan is doing too much adjustments and worrying and fretting, if he's that type of fighter, then he's going to leave himself vulnerable.
Yeah, I think, the odds indicate the books don't think that's likely, right? So, yes, you want to keep your eye on there, but at the end of the day, Baranchyk, in the World Boxing Super Series, he extended Taylor the full distance. He lost the unanimous decision there. But Taylor, along with Regis Prograis, are really the cream of the crop in this weight class. So there's no real shame in that loss. Baranchyk, too, I think, with the Eastern European mentality, he'll probably want to get right back on the wheel and, on the winning track, rather. And Bracero should be right up his alley. He should outclass him. Barancyk's another guy, when you look at his career trajectory and stuff, he's been fighting pretty high-level guys throughout. And only in the early days did he have a few guys with, losing records and stuff. And then all of a sudden, when he started fighting guys that are good, it's guys, 9-0-2, 16-0-1, 9-0-1, 7-0, 15-6, and then 17-1, 11-0, So
right.
Then fighting Peter Petrov, a guy with a lot of experience and stuff. I think they're bringing him along right. I think, again, the show is a test of the matchmaking. And, when you're looking for guys to showcase certain talent and stuff like that, did you do a good job? Is there a guy, can you make the guys look good? Or is it going to look like a minus 5250 fight to everybody? Because if it looks like that, then you haven't done your job either.
That's absolutely right. And what we may as well mention, the Alejandro Barrera, we had that fight called, but he appears to be suspended by the New York State Athletic Association. It's late breaking. We don't really have news on it, but when we're looking up our lines and BoxRec, it seems Israil Madrimov, who's 3-0 with 3 knockouts, may not get to fight Alejandro Barrera at 29-5, 18 knockouts for him. So, and then this is another amateur. Madrimov looks a lot and fights a lot like Triple G. So I was looking forward to seeing him. He's got some thudding left punches to the body. I mentioned this in case they find a late replacement. So if somebody other than Barrera is fighting Israil Madrimov, look for very nice left punches to the body. and then an all-around pretty good and an aggressive game, and probably a knockout if they unless they find some beast to fight him on 2 days' notice.
Yep, and in terms of the suspension, it is a wait-and-see type of situation. Not a lot of details out there right now, but in general, it's Wednesday fight week. The fighters are probably looking at medical exams today, tomorrow. They're probably doing the weigh-ins on Friday, obviously, and then Saturday is the fight. So there is some time, and the new wave of medical checks could clear up any type of old paperwork or things that could have led to the suspension. So the fact that they haven't removed the fight wholesale, we may be talking about it. If it goes down, right now, Madrimov minus 4,500, Barrera at plus 1,500. So the undercard really showcases for the guys that are bringing along Akhmedov, Madrimov, Ward, and Baranchyk. So that's what we're looking at for Madison Square Garden this Saturday, October 5th. You can check your local listings for start times on the zone. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, back in action. Any final words, ASP?
It's been a pleasure, Miguel. Always is. West Baden Springs Hotel. Shout out to everybody here. They've treated us great. Part of the French Lick Resorts. We'll be placing a couple of bets on these dog watches. So maybe in a few days or next week we can sit and talk about this. So thanks for sticking with us, all of our viewers. We love you.
Thanks for joining us here on the CRP, and we'll catch you after Golovkin and Derevyanchenko do their thing this Saturday night.
Good show, Miguel.